Yesterday, Anthropic released the new Sonnet 5 model, and in this video, I'm going to be covering everything that there is to know about this model, whether you should be using it in your workflow, and showing you guys what I was able to build with it, some of the results in BridgeBench, and then I'm also going to be covering huge news, which is that Fable 5 is returning to Anthropic subscriptions today. So starting with Sonnet 5, the biggest thing that you need to know about this model is that it uses an updated tokenizer, okay? So if we actually go to their blog, they say that it improves how the model performs, but it's going to use roughly 1 to 1.35x more tokens depending on the task. This is a huge problem, and I'm going to show you guys why. So let's take a step back and let's just look at history, okay? If we think about what Sonnet models are supposed to be, there's really two things that you expect to see out of a Sonnet model. It should be faster, and it should also be cheaper. So ultimately, you're looking for a model that's going to be a little bit less capable than an Opus model, but it's going to be far more efficient. So if we rewind the clock and we look at Sonnet 4.5, this is about 8 months ago, 9 months ago now. Sonnet 4.5 was the leading frontier Sonnet model, and then Opus 4.1 was the leading Opus model, okay? So if you look at Sonnet 4.5, it's the same price as Sonnet 5 is going to be, which is $3 and $15 per million tokens, and then Opus 4.1 was $15 and $75 per million tokens. So if you were somebody that was using Claude, you were like, okay, I'm going to use this Sonnet model because it's literally a fifth of the price, and it was also way faster. It was 2 times the speed of Opus 4.1. Now, if you fast forward to today, the Opus models have dropped significantly in price. They're now $5 and $25 per million. And then Sonnet 5, it says $2 and $10 per million, but this is just like a week discount. I forget when it actually ends, but it's going to go up to $3 and $15. So it's the same price. And then if you scroll down a little bit, look at this. So on Anthropic right now, Sonnet 5 is running at 52 tokens per second. And Opus 4.8 on Anthropic is running right now at 57 tokens per second. So those speed efficiencies are completely out the window. And then with the new tokenizer, you're about to see that Sonnet actually isn't that much more affordable than Opus 4.8. So there's two benchmarks that I want to show you on artificial analysis. So the first one is this cost per intelligence. So this is the cost per task. And what you're going to see here is that Sonnet 5 per task is actually more expensive than Opus 4.8 because it uses way more tokens. So look at that, $2.29 per task versus Opus 4.8, which was only $1.80. So the price is completely out the window. And then if you look at the actual total cost to run the Artificial Analysis Intelligence Index, Sonnet 5 was even more expensive than Fable 5. So the cost efficiencies are completely out the window. You are not saving any money by using Sonnet 5. I think that CursorBench gives a really accurate representation of what you're going to see when using Sonnet 5 Max. So if we just filter this by tokens, you're going to see that Sonnet 5 Max uses more tokens than anything else. It's number one at consuming tokens at 93,000 tokens. Opus 4.8 Max, for reference, used 77, then Fable 5 Max used 63,000. But what's really crazy is that if you actually look at the previous Sonnet, which is right here, look at this. This one used 40,000 tokens per task, so it only cost $3, right? So you're looking at a massive jump, even though these models literally cost the same price for input and output. Look at this. It ends up being more than twice the cost. Look at this, $3.09 here, up to $6.87 for the new Sonnet 5 Max, and it's because of this new tokenizer. And then when you compare that to Opus 4.8, look at this, cost per task, $6.87, and then Opus 4.8 Max, $7.59. So just like we saw with artificial analysis, you're not seeing any price benefit of using Sonnet 5. So with all of this said, let's actually take a look at what it's able to produce, starting with the Bridge Horror House game. So this is one output that we test these models on, and I want you guys to note that this did take 3 shots to get it to this point. The first few attempts, it had some issues with it. The flashlight wasn't working correctly, but you can navigate this house. I think that the graphics are good. If you look at the floor looks really nice. This is built with Three.js and Vite. But there are a lot of bugs with it. Like, for example, it took 3 shots and it doesn't really work. If you guys remember when I tested, look at this. So this is the ghost. And the ghost, first of all, it's not really that creepy, and it doesn't really like pop out at you and scare you. And also, it just doesn't really work that well. But here's a key. Let's grab this key. We're going to pick this up. We can look around for the other. We need to find 3 keys. But you guys can note that it doesn't really work as intended. It's not really a good game, right? If there's not a monster that comes after you and chases you, and it doesn't really have good graphics, and it doesn't really work, then like look at this. So this is the ghost that it created. Is that good? You know, you guys can let me know in the comment section down below, but I don't think that that's good. I think that what Fable 5 created was actually like kind of scary. Like I remember when I was playing that game, you know, there were chills that went down my spine, but this, it's just like, it just kind of pops out. You look at it, it goes away. I'm not super impressed with this, and I can't even really find the 3rd key. So lots of problems with it. I don't think that the one-shot capabilities of it are great, and I don't think that the actual output is in any way better than Opus 4.8 or obviously Fable 5. So that's the issue with this model. I mean, look at this. Is that good? I don't know. You guys can let me know. But let's take a look at another example. This is a Remotion video that was created by Sonnet 5, and I have to say that this Remotion video actually did impress me. This was a one-shot, and this is a Remotion video for Bridge Voice, which is the voice-to-text tool in the BridgeMind ecosystem. And you guys, again, can just kind of rate this in the comments if you want. But this is one of the best outputs that I have seen. So in terms of UI generation or Remotion video generation, this does look promising. So Bridge Voice, stop typing, start shipping. The effects look good. The animations look good. It uses the icons. It uses the logos. So pretty impressed by this here. Another test that we did is this Python 8-ball pool game. So I want you guys to see this. So let's just power this up. So the physics are quite good on this game. Like if you look at the way that I'm hitting the balls and stuff, the physics are pretty decent. So the one issue that I have with it is like it did leave out like key details. If you guys have ever played, there's a mini clip game, 8-ball pool. I used to play it as a kid. But when I point at one of these balls, I don't know where it's going to go. I don't know the direction that it's going to go. So if you're playing, it's like it's kind of hard to even anticipate like where the ball's going to go, right? So in terms of being able to note key details that would help with a project or a game or whatever you're working on, right? I don't think that Sonnet 5 really has those key details. Like, it's hard to play an 8-ball pool game. Like, look at that. I didn't like that. You know, that seemed a little bit funky. So I don't think that it's that great. Now, hey, maybe it could just be that Sonnet 5 isn't great at game generation like Fable 5 was, right? But I am not super impressed with it. There's some elements to it that are good. You guys, again, can let me know in the comments, but what I'm seeing here, I don't know if I just suck at the game or if it's just hard to play because it's missing some of those key details. The last test result that I want to show you, I actually was not able to show on stream because this worked for like an hour and 30 minutes. This is a remake of GTA 6 called Bridge City. And let's just play this. This is the first time I've used this, but let's check it out. So the animations, I mean, there's traffic lights. I'm not seeing a whole lot of activity. Let's run around and see. Hold up. Do I have a gun or anything? Hold up. Let's see the controls here. So shift, sprint, rob, 1, 2, 3. So I do have weapons. So 1 is a weapon. I'm clicking 1. I mean, guys, come on. What? I don't know. Am I shooting a gun with my hands? What's going on here? But there also are no cars or anything. And I don't know. There's a person over here. Let's go see if we can rob him. All right. So it's E to rob. Okay, so I guess robbed him. What? Oh, all right. Did you guys see that? Oh my gosh. All right, so here's the cops. All right, so the cops are here. Okay, so I got those guys. I mean, I don't know, guys. Yeah, if you guys saw the difference between that and what Fable 5 was able to produce, or even what Opus 4.8 has been able to produce, it is not even anywhere in the same league. The thing is that we're not expecting Sonnet models to be in the same league. Really what we want Sonnet models for is to be faster, more efficient and not as expensive, but literally you guys are seeing it. It's not any of those things. So it's literally just the same price for a worse model. Now, I do want to take a look at some of the benchmarks in both artificial analysis and BridgeBench. So if you look at the coding index, you can see that Sonnet 5 ranks 71.5 on this benchmark. So it beats out GLM 5.2. It barely beats out Gemini 3.5 Flash, but benchmarks are benchmarks. If you look at the intelligence index, it scores a 53. So it's behind GPT 5.5. It's ahead of GLM 5.2 Max. But I also want to break down BridgeBench and what I'm seeing. So the biggest thing here is that it actually does perform very well on the reasoning benchmark, okay? This is actually one of the most challenging benchmarks in BridgeBench. So the differences in scores are pretty substantial, and it actually scores #1 on the reasoning benchmark. And I do think that this is because of the new tokenizer. It spends so many tokens reasoning that it makes sense that Sonnet 5 would score #1 in reasoning. So it beats out GLM 5.2 here, but really that's the only place that it's standing out. It does okay in refactoring, but it doesn't really perform well on the hallucination bench. It does perform decent on the BS bench. A lot of Claude models do. Opus 4.8 scores really well on BS bench, so Sonnet 5 does as well. It does score better than Sonnet 4.6 on the BS bench. On debugging, it is not even in the top 10. On speed, it does get 5th in speed. So when we did put it through OpenRouter and we put it through the speed benchmark, you are seeing a speed increase here, okay? So when we put it through this benchmark, we are seeing a speed up here. You can see that this may vary based off of the current load of the model, but when we did put it through BridgeBench, it was able to get 230 tokens per second. And then on Opus 4.8, if you go down here, Opus 4.8 was at 113. So I think that this will fluctuate. You know, we'll want to rebench this, but in terms of speed, it does do well on BridgeBench speed test. Now, I do want to take a look at some of the differences in the UI capabilities between Sonnet 4.6 and Sonnet 5. So for example, the Sonnet 5 test here with the neon sign flickering did a way better job. Look at the difference between these. You can obviously see the spacing is all messed up here. The letters aren't great. And then Sonnet 5 crushed it on this. Now the lava lamp test is a different story. If you look at this, the lava lamp was kind of a complete fail on both. But Sonnet 5, I mean, look at this. This is something that you would expect from like DeepSeek V4 or something like that. If we look at the Flappy Bird game, let's take a look at this one. Flappy Bird. I mean... It does its job, right? It does its job, but not really a ton to see there. I don't think that the UI capabilities are better than like Opus 4.8. If you guys look at Opus 4.8 on this one, look at this. I mean, the UI capabilities on Opus 4.8 I think are much better. If you just look at the graphics, I think I have to expand this to see it better, but this is Opus 4.8 and it does do a much better job. I just think that the UI capabilities of Opus 4.8 and Fable 5, I mean, you guys should see how Fable 5 performs on this one. So ultimately, I am not going to be giving Sonnet 5 the BridgeMind stamp of approval, and the reason is pretty simple. It comes down to this right here. If you look at Opus and you look at Sonnet, the reason that you use Sonnet models is because they are more efficient and they are cheaper and they are faster. And what we're seeing is that Sonnet 5 is none of those things. It's hardly cheaper, and in some cases, on some benchmarks, is actually more expensive than Opus per task. It's slow. It is not token efficient. It has some good reasoning capabilities, but ultimately Opus 4.8 is going to beat out Sonnet 5. So I just don't know why you would want to use Sonnet 5 if it ends up being more expensive or at the same price or similar price as Opus 4.8 without being as capable. I just don't understand why I would want to use this in my workflow. I would suggest that you use GLM 5.2 instead of Sonnet 5 if you're looking for something that's going to be faster and more efficient, because GLM 5.2 is around Sonnet 5 capabilities and it actually is cheaper. So I would say that GLM 5.2 does beat out Sonnet 5, and I'm just not going to be using this model. I don't think there's any reason for me to be using it. Now, we do have huge news from Anthropic that I would like to cover on this video because it does relate to the release of Sonnet 5. We finally have word from Anthropic that Fable 5 is going to be back today, and it's rolling out globally and will be included on Pro, Max, and Team plans, and is going to be included for up to 50% of your weekly usage through July 7th. So this is painful right here. I don't know what Anthropic is doing. It's so frustrating what's going on. I don't know why they're only going to include it for a week. This has been an incredibly frustrating time period for the BridgeMind community and the vibe coding movement as a whole. But look at this. I want to elaborate on one thing. So they put out this tweet and they said, in the near term, some routine tasks like coding and debugging will fall back to Opus 4.8. So this here confused a lot of people. I don't know if they used Sonnet 5 to write this, but this confused people because they were like, well, are you going to be able to use this for coding and debugging at all? But that is not the case. I did elaborate this on a post. So this was really confusing, but Tariq did say, hey, there have been some questions. As with the original classifiers, a small fraction of routine coding and debugging tasks will be flagged and fall back to Opus. If we take a look at the official announcement from Anthropic, there is a really useful chart so that we can understand this. So this was the original safeguards for Fable. So you can see that pretty much this boundary here is now being moved back to here. So there's now a larger safety margin, which it basically means that there's a potential for more normal tasks to be blocked and to be rolled back to Opus 4.8, which we'll see that when we do get our hands on the model, how strong those safeguards are going to be. But ultimately, you will still be able to use this for coding and debugging tasks. It's just possible that some more tasks are going to be getting blocked. So ultimately, the most frustrating part about all of this is that it's finally been lifted, but they're going to give us a super safeguarded version of the model. And in this blog, there's literally no information about a potential permanent return for Fable 5. If you guys remember with the original release of Fable 5, they basically said, hey, we're going to try and serve this as soon as we have the GPUs for it. But this time around, there's literally no information about returning Fable 5 permanently in subscriptions past July 7th, which really does worry me. I can't believe that this is even a thing. To be honest with you, the limitations on this through July 7th is just crazy to me because just so you guys know, no person that is on a normal budget is going to be using Fable 5 through API costs, okay? Like I used it with my cursor credits that I had, and I think I ran up like $2,000 to $3,000 in like a 1 to 2 day period using Fable 5. Regardless, let's make the most of Fable 5 while we have it. It'll be really interesting to see it when it returns. I have announced that I will be putting it through BridgeBench to see how it performs when it comes back, because a lot of people are saying that it's going to be lobotomized and that it's going to be nerfed, and that definitely is a real possibility. So we are going to put it through BridgeBench again. I have all of the existing benchmarks for Fable 5 from the Fable 5 that we had on June 12th. So if it does get nerfed, we are going to know first on BridgeBench. So with that being said, I'm going to wrap the video up here. I hope that this has been helpful. It is a very frustrating time to be a vibe coder, and I don't know what the heck Anthropic is doing right now with this whole July 7th thing, putting it in usage-based billing, and then also with Sonnet 5. This is probably one of the worst releases that I've ever seen from Anthropic, just because, hey, Sonnet models, they're supposed to be efficient, they're supposed to be affordable, and they're supposed to be fast, and like none of those things are happening. So it's an unprecedented time, but with that being said, let's put our heads down, let's keep on grinding, and let's build the future.